Hey everybody, today I'm really sad. Over the last 30 years, I've completely ruined a couple water machines. As good as White's builds their water machines, I do bonehead stuff. I think with my PI 1000, I think it was called, 30 years ago, I forgot to check the O-ring, it leaked salt water, dead. On the 3000, out party one day, put it on the tailgate, drove off, it got run over, dead. My last Surfmaster PI lasted, 15 years, give or take. Great machine, never had a problem. Made a rookie mistake, put cheap batteries in it because I forgot to charge my batteries. They sprung a leak, dead. God, but that's okay, you know why? Because Nettie and Steve over there at White's hooked me up with the new White's Surfmaster dual field PI. So we're going to do an open box. I'm going to show you how to put it together, and I'm going to talk about the new controls. How's that sound? Be right back. Let's open up the box and see what we got here. Alright, as usual, they're packed nice. Off the bat, that's an 11 or 12 inch search coil, which is larger than the older PI that I had. Dual field coil. I hear that these are a little buoyant. They do sell aftermarket weights to hold them down a little bit in the water, but shouldn't really be a problem. You can always take a piece of 15 inch by half inch tubing from the hardware store and get a little connector, the ones that squeeze inside, and fill that tubing with water, and then put that little coupler together that squeezes inside to hold the water inside, and then use some zip ties on there. That's a real cheap way if you find it's a little buoyant. The headphones are now blue. They look like a little bit different style. Elevex. It's a pretty nice feeling. And we'll try those out a little later, but they fit pretty snug, and they do fit over my ears nice. They're waterproof. The control box is all hardwired, so you cannot take the headphones or this off. You'd have to send it in to do that unless you're really handy, which I wouldn't recommend. But in a little bit after I get it together, we'll go through. There's an extra knob. Before you just used to have the two knobs, now you have a pulse timing, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit. Let's see what else we have here. We have the upper rod with the S handle. It has the arm cuff built in and a little stand built in. And I thought that you could mount that control box either here or here. It looks like they switched it to where it's a little more balanced back behind your hand. I will be putting a straight shaft on this, which I have ordered, but that's another video. I never did like it up there. It puts a little stress on your wrist and your hand. It's not as balanced, so that's a good move. Look at the instructions, I guess, and warranty card. We'll get to that in a little bit. Oh, there's something. They actually, with the battery holder, include the 8 AA batteries that you're going to need, which is nice. And then this bag has your nuts and bolts to connect the coil. It has the little foam pads to put in here, the armrest, little handle that you can put in the box if you want to use a box as a carrying case, and then little clips that go around this pole to hold the cable in place. And then you got the lower rod shaft, and you have the middle rod shaft. So let me put all this together, and then we'll talk about the features. Now that we have all the parts out here, I did open up the envelope. You'll have an owner's manual, and in the owner's manual it'll show you how to assemble your machine, which is real simple. I'm just going to do a couple highlights here real quick. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you also have your registration card. Make sure you mail these in. This little label gets put on here. It's postage paid. It does have a 2-year limited warranty. So one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to take these little pads here. You'll peel off the back to get to this arm cuff. You'll just take this Velcro out right here, and then you'll line that with these pads. You'll connect your middle rod into here by pressing these and pushing it up. Don't tighten the cam lock yet. Then you'll put the lower rod in the same way by pushing these and sticking it into the center rod. Don't tighten the cam lock because later you're going to adjust it once you wrap the cable around. You'll see you have a 3/8 nylon bolt with 2 rubber washers, okay, and a little nut that goes on the end. That goes through the little cam assembly here. Make sure the washers are flush in these grooves before you put the lower rod into your coil. And then once you do, you put the 3/8 nut through and tighten it up snugly, but don't way over tighten it. You don't want to bust these ears off. Just enough so when you adjust it, your coil will stay in whatever position you put this in, and snug it up and leave it there. When you're done with that, you'll have 2 of these little clips which will go around the shaft and hold your cable in place, but we'll do that after your final adjustments, because once you wrap your cable, you still have to adjust your shaft back and forth and make sure that it's at the right height for the handle and whatnot. It came with a battery holder, and a little instruction shows you how to put the batteries into the holder. There's 8 batteries. Positives always go towards that end, and the negatives always go towards the springs. So you just put all 8 of those in, which we'll do in a little bit. And to put the batteries in, you now have to get into the control box. Now, the control box is sealed by an O-ring that goes all the way around, and these 2 clamps, one on either side. They're pretty hard, so you want to make sure you pop them open, take the little tops off like that. They won't fall off, they just lay back, and then lift this off. You want to be very careful with this top. This O-ring should be replaced about once a year, but every time you take this off, you want to make sure there's no dirt, no cuts, no scratches, no anything in that O-ring. Take real good care of it. You can always get a little bit of lubrication. To make sure you have one of the latest machines, you can see in a Honest machine, you see the hologram there, you have a patent number there, you have a sticker with a barcode telling me it was made in 2016, and like I said, the newer machines have the blue earmuffs. Once you put your batteries in to your holder, then you will put the batteries connector, which is like a 9-volt battery, put the big end on the little one, and then put the little one on the big one here. It can only go one way, and just snap that in place. And once that's snapped in place, you will set it in like that, where it sits evenly, like this, sideways like that, where it fits in that little groove. And then you will put your case lid back on. Once again, check all the dirt. You should order one up from White's and have it with you, and a little silicone lubricant maybe. But make sure, see, there's a little speck of dust right there. I'll wipe that off. But make sure it's very clean. It just sits flat. Once you have it flat, put these 2 lid parts in place like this, and then hold this one like that, and clamp that down, and then clamp this one down. It's pretty tough, but as long as everything's in correctly, that's how it goes. Now to connect this to the pole, that's a little tricky. You'll have to you see these 2? You want to kind of tilt it like this. I don't know if you can see this real good, but you're going to kind of tilt it like that and put it in so that they line up. So you line up those little silver cams, and then you push this side down. Once you got those 2 started, push these in, and they just snap in place like that. And you're ready to go. To take them out, you do just the opposite. You would push 2 of these at the same time, and then you got to kind of work one out and work another one out. It's a little difficult to get it off. Once that's in place like this, to change the battery, you just leave this connected to the rod. You would just unclip your clips drop this down, change your batteries. This is the same setup that the older Surfmaster White's PI had, and like I said, I had cheap batteries. They come with batteries. I don't know anything about these type of batteries it comes with, but they're just regular alkaline cheap batteries. You know, that's okay to use them. Get rid of them in a couple weeks after your batteries drain. But I always buy Energizer batteries, rechargeables, instead of paying, you know, $6-7 a pack for 8 of these batteries to use every time I want to use them. I just buy the rechargeables. The charger runs me about 30 bucks. The battery pack runs about $14 for 8 batteries, or $12 depending who you get them from. I'm going to do a video about those later anyways, but in the long run, it sounds expensive, but in the long run that battery pack charges those batteries over and over and over and over again. And if you hunt a lot, like I do, and other people do, you can really go through a lot of battery costs buying batteries, you know. So that's just a little tip for you. So once again, on the highlights, make sure that the sew ring is cleaned up pretty good. Order another one from White's. Be careful when you put the stickies on here, because once you stick them on, they're not coming off, so make sure they're lined up. Tilt this box, you know, one side, tilt it, and then slide it into position until it clicks. And when you put your lower rod here, make sure you don't over tighten these. You don't want to bust those tips. So I'm going to finish assembling this, and then we'll get back about the controls. Now that I have the detector together, I'm just going to show you, basically you use these clips here to hold this in place. Once again, don't over tighten your nuts. You want your coil just to be tightened enough to hold it in place. You want a little bit of slack here, so as you move this or put it away, you'll have just a little bit of slack so that you're not putting stress on the coil. Okay, but you don't want so much that it's flopping around, giving you a false signal or something. Same with the connection up here. You want a little bit of slack here. Now this is the way, when you put all this out here and wrap it up, it's a little difficult. What I'll probably wind up doing, what I do with most of my detectors, is I'll use this clip here, I'll run it straight up and use another clip, and then right around here somewhere, I'll just roll the cable up and mash it together and put a couple Velcro ties like you buy from the computer supply to keep cords together. And it won't look great, but it actually looks a little better than this, just a straight line coming up and then the extra coil bunched up there and tied off. And then this will be a little bit out of the way. I like that better than wrapping it all up, and this is kind of a pain to do. You have to take the coil off and disconnect it and wrap it all. So anyways, it's in place now. So let's get into some of the other things here. We showed you how to do that. You will basically adjust this to your height using the cam locks on the bottom here. The one here on the top, there's only one hole, and then you tighten this cam lock once those pins are in place, and then these pins, you go up or down to this coil is just out in front of your feet a little bit, and it's comfortable, and your arm is basically hanging all the way down. You don't want to put your elbow like this holding it, because that puts more stress on you, just so it's almost kind of straight, so you're moving your arm like that. And once you're comfortable with it, then you tighten up these cam locks, and you'll see that it doesn't move anywhere, so you're not having the coil flop around. You know, they're tight. It does have a 2-year warranty. Keep in mind, if you're like me and you bust the seal and don't take care of it, or you use stupid batteries and they leak, or you let it fall off your truck, you know, they're not going to cover that kind of stuff. So make sure you always check that O-ring in the back here. Like I told you, get an extra one just in case. Always take your batteries out when you're not using it, you know, within reason, within a month or something like that. And when you do use it, you know, most of the time these are pulse induction units used for salt water. If you're in the water or on the beach and you have mist spraying on you or anything, salt is very, very corrosive. I always rinse these down real good with fresh water, and sometimes, you know, if I'm in the water actually, I will take these apart and rinse them out as well. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain, but that corrosiveness and even that fine grit getting in here can really lock stuff up. It just makes your machine a lot better, taking care to clean around, you know, rinsing these off around these knobs and stuff. You know, don't open this up while it's wet, just rinse everything down real good. and keep it real clean, and that way it'll last you a long time. I mean, all my whites machines that I've had have lasted years and years and years and years until I've done something really stupid. Welcome back. I just want to show you real quick, while I was making my coffee, I decided to run the cord straight up here to show you what it would look like. I used the two clips here. I left a little bit of slack, obviously, so when you fold this down, you're not putting any stress on this connection, but not enough where it flops all over the place. This runs straight up. Then I put another piece right here of tape just to hold it. That would be Velcro. And then right here, I bunched the cord up and squashed it and Velcroed that. Actually, it's PVC tape. I didn't have any Velcro right at the moment, but it will be Velcro. And the reason I'll use Velcro is so eventually, when I go to clean these, I don't have to rewrap the tape and take them off and whatnot and so on. So you can see that. Also, if you look, I've taken a little bit of tape and I taped these two cords together so that these connections right here aren't stressed. And I also taped it here after the handle. Now I've left room so that my grip doesn't grab these because I'm trying to keep stress off of these connections. And that's what we want to do. So if you're pulling on your headphones, the stress is pulling here versus tugging at these connections. So give me just a minute. I'll try to set up a little bit and we'll get to these controls and show you how to operate this thing. The first thing you'll notice when operating this machine is you now have three switches. The old machine had the gain switch and the threshold. And so we're going to go over these real fast and let you know what they're doing. I've got the headphones kind of stuck up there. I don't know how good you're going to hear them, but the first one is the gain. You turn it clockwise and that turns the machine on. Now that little triangle and all these switches on the gain, you see it about midway. That's for most, everyday beach hunting or whatnot. And then the threshold is the same thing. So right now that was in battery, that's why it was going all the time. But you will turn this up and you hear it being erratic. There's a little EMI here, so if you were outside and there was EMI from power lines or whatnot, or there was, other detectors or stuff in the ground, this is the switch that you're trying to back it off a little bit. You want to get the machine stable. You want that steady tone to come through your earphones all the time. You always hear that steady tone, and you want that steady tone to be as light as possible. If you're in a good area, you can crank this up a little bit, okay? So once you get it where it's at, you'll hear that tone. Now I'm turning this up a little bit just so you can hear it steady, but you would want that tone going steady and light using this one. And then you would take this, you can hear it beeps like it's supposed to. Alright, that's what these do. So the gain control, is the power. It's sending a stronger field down into the soil. So obviously if you can get it up higher, you're sending more power in there, you're going to hear a little bit deeper stuff. If you go a little lower, you're going to punch through a little less. This is the pulse induction machine. It's made to go deep into the ground. The threshold is basically to let you hear that background and it's not being broke up, to know you're basically kind of ground balanced and everything's working right. And that's what that's for. Also on the threshold, if you turn it all the way over, you'll hear it real loud. That means the batteries are okay. So let's just turn this off for a minute. And this one can stay there. What they've added now is the timing for the pulse induction. Like I said, a pulse induction machine sends a signal out and it's kind of magnetizing the ground. And just for simplicity's sake, let's just say it's sending out that signal every second. So if you have an area this big and the coil sends out a signal, it charges this area up and all the little particles get magnetized, and then there's something over here that gets magnetized, okay? So this will stay magnetized for basically a second, and so once the machine sends that signal, it's now sending another signal to read that area. As time goes by, all the little small stuff becomes demagnetized, and then your target becomes demagnetized, and so it sends another signal. So in a great world, they have it at the preset. It's sending out the magnetization and reading the signal, and everything is working great, and you're able to really tell what you got, a good signal or a bad signal or whatnot, and it's going through the ground good. If you start turning this clockwise, you're starting to delay that signal. So now what's happening is, instead of every second. It's only sending a signal every 2 seconds, and believe me, it's way faster than that. It's something like 20,000 a second. But anyways, what happens is it sends that signal, and now there's a longer time that the machine is waiting for the response. But this stuff is becoming demagnetized. So kind of like discrimination, it's not really discrimination. You're losing stuff, and you're losing depth because you're taking more time from keeping that field charged up. Okay, so if you're in bad ground or EMI, you're always trying to use this gain button. But if you have to, you can crank this over, and very sparingly. This was really made for bad ground. It was really made for if you have some black sand, little iron in the ground, volcanic stuff, to kind of get rid of that minute stuff to help balance it out. And then they found out and said, well, yeah, you can keep on going, but then it is like a discriminator, and it does say in the book for discriminating foil, that you can keep going, but once you start doing that, you're losing gold rings and chains and whatever. So what's the point of having a PI machine that goes deep? Another thing about PI machines is they work best in the water. There's less junk in the water. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of junk, but there's less junk, and there's more chance, your odds are better that some of that junk will be good. Then you get up into wet sand where things were dragged around, your odds are less that those are going to be good. There's going to be more, heavier bottle caps, screw caps, that kind of things, because they got drug up there and laid. Then of course, if you get up into the dry sand and things like that, then you got everything. You'll just be miserable because you'll be digging up every little BB size thing and tin foil and every light object. So once again, in the water, really deep signals, very stable. You just can't beat a PI machine. Wet sand, very good. You're just going to dig even more junk. If you want to use this knob to discriminate and lose some depth because you just get tired of digging trash, then by all means, that's up to you. But theoretically, if at all possible, just leave that alone. So that's how I explain it. If I explained it incorrectly, you're welcome to comment below, or maybe the guy like Steve from White's will explain it. But I'm not a rocket scientist. I tried to explain it like I would understand it, and hopefully that helps you understand how it works. And I will catch you the next time around. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, go down to the comment section and leave a comment about it, or a suggestion of what you'd like to see next. While you're there, hit the thumbs up. And don't forget, you can always share it on Facebook or your other social sites. Of course, YouTube will show you other videos over here you may like, and you're always free to hit that subscribe button. Thanks.